Back for UFC Atlanta this week, and I'm going to go over every single fight on this card and make a prediction for each of them. All of the links you could need are in the description, and I will see you in the notice matchup at 125 pounds. We have Jamey-Lyn Horth, who was originally scheduled for this card. She's at 3-2 in her last 5. She takes on Vanessa Demopoulos, who steps in on short notice up a weight class, 2-3 in her last 5. And we'll see how the short notice up a weight class nature affects this fight. For Demopoulos, she's a decent striker with good forward pressure. The girl throws a ton of volume. Her volume is one of the best attributes she has. It is just constant. Decent power as well. When she hits you, she's throwing, hard. She's throwing heavy shots. Problem is she is up a weight class that might not translate as well. Striking defense is abysmal, but the girl can take a punch. When it comes to her grappling, she's really good with the jiu-jitsu. It's just the wrestling that isn't there. So she got good control when she can get the fight to the mat on her terms, which is rare, but if she does, she has good control. She's very active from her back, and she has a wide variety of submissions in the arsenal. So she can do really good things, but she lacks open mat takedowns. Her takedown defense is horrible, and she gets stuck on her back and is willing to stay there and work. So a lot of good things offensively. Defensively, she struggles. And up a weight class now, that could play a role. On the other side, Jamey-Lyn Horth, she was preparing for this fight card. Different opponent, but now she's still a grappler, mostly predominantly a grappler, just different style of grappler. She is a decent striker with really good kicks. I like those. Basic combinations and some power. Power at 125, not 115. Decent grappling. Top pressure's there. That's something that she's going to want here if she does decide to go for the takedowns. She's hard to take down and hard to hold down, and she's active from her back. Physicality advantage is going to be the thing that I think really swings the line in her favor. Now, for me, I'm a big Vanessa Demopoulos fan, and I want to pick her just because I like her, but I can't here because I think that short notice, up a weight class against someone as physical as Horth, stylistically, this leans Horth. So, yeah, big favorite Horth. I get it. I'm taking Jamey-Lyn Horth. I'm rooting for Vanessa. It is what it is. Let me know what you think. 170, where Phil Rowe takes on Ange Loosa. 3-2 for Phil Rowe, and you're going to see an interesting one here. It's 2-2 and a no contest for Ange Loosa. That should be 2-3. Bryan Battle was beating the brakes off of Ange Loosa. He lucked out when Bryan Battle's thumb touched his eyeball just the slightest bit, and the dude was like, no way, I'm done with this fight, and that's a no contest. So saved himself from the loss. Good for him, I guess, saving the record, but yeah, that was definitely a loss. Either way, Ange Loosa, decent striker. He's got pretty good volume, sticks the jab really well, durable as heck. He's going to take what you're throwing at him typically. He can take a punch. But he doesn't have much power, and that's wild because the guy looks like a meatball, big old buff dude, but not a ton of power. Decent grappler, heavy on top, super heavy on top, really hard to take down, and he's got pretty good ground and pound. Those are all things you'd like to see. Now, on the other side, we got a long, lanky striker, which is wild because he's got the power here. Phil Rowe, skinnier dude, long, lanky arms. Sometimes that's just what equates to power. Dude throws those long punches out, and then the range of that punch somehow adds some zip to it. So the power on the skinny guy, the meatball, a little soft in the hands. Volume for Rowe, good straight punches and uses his range really well. In the grappling, similar thing. He uses his range really well. His length is what he uses to wrap guys up. He'll attack some submissions, mostly the chokes. He's very active from his back, but he is willing to stay on the bottom. So Loosa, in this one, if he wants to get on top and control minutes, that's how he's going to beat a guy like Rowe. If he stands and trades with a guy like Rowe, I think Rowe is going to beat him up the whole fight. And I think that's what we're going to get, at least for a lot of the matchup. So for me, I'm pretty low on Ange Loosa at this point. I'm going to take Phil Rowe. I think he's going to be able to land the better shots on the feet. I think if it does go to the mat, I think Phil Rowe is going to be attacking submissions. I think he's going to do enough that it's not going to, make it so Ange Loosa can flip the round after Rowe lands some big shots on him early. We're taking Phil Rowe. Let me know what you think. And close matchup here at 135 pounds by my estimations. Ricky Simon takes on Charles Jourdain. Jourdain is 3-2 in his last 5. 2-3 for Simon. For Jourdain, he is a good striker. He's probably going to be the better striker in this matchup. He's got good volume, good movement, and good combinations. The thing I like the most is probably his kicking game. He kicks to all levels very well, and he's got that really cool front kick, the Sparta kick, and we all remember him for it. It's a very nice move. Good grappling as well. Good front chokes. His front choke series is something that Ricky's going to have to watch out for if he goes to the wrestling, which he likely will and probably should in this matchup. So those front chokes, they are nasty. Good scrambles for Jourdain, very active from his back. He can stay safe on top. We saw that in the Kron Gracie fight where he realized, look, I'm able to get this guy down, but this guy is dangerous off his back, and that's the only place he's dangerous. What do I need to do? I just need to stay safe, not do anything silly, and win the minutes, win moments, do what I need to do. He did that extremely well. But the problem is his takedown defense is not very good. He gets taken down very easily, but his scrambling ability often lets him end up on top. So that's something to take into account. For Ricky Simón, decent striker. He comes forward, throws basic combinations, but he's got a ton of power, and that can make up for any skill gap maybe. Because I will say Jourdain is a cleaner, more technical striker. Simón hits way harder. That dude hits really, really hard. Solid grappler as well for Simón. The takedowns are there. He used to shoot a whole lot of takedowns. He's lowered the volume of them, but he still has a good variety of options for him. Can mix that in. Good control. He seeks to finish. He blends the ground and pound with the submission attempts. He's got all the tools he needs on the mat, and he has great cardio. For me, this is a tough matchup. I think either guy is very live to win this fight. I'm going to side with Simón because I think if he goes to his wrestling, he will be able to get the takedowns. And it's one of those things that if he can say, okay, I need to get these takedowns. I realize Jourdain's going to get back up, but I can get these rinse and repeat to win minutes. That's how Simón wins this fight without, taking a bunch of damage. And I think he can do that if he fights with the right game plan. So we're going to take him. Tough fight, though. Tough fight. Let me know what you guys think. This card is full of absolutely difficult matchups to call, and we have one right here. Cody Durden takes on Jose Ochoa in the 125-pound flyweight division. Now, if you look at Durden's last 5, he's 2-3. But if you look at the level of competition, I mean, this guy's losing to, like, Josh Van, for example. In a decision, by the way. Dude's tough as heck. So, he's losing to, like, some pretty gosh darn good guys. He lost to Muhammad Mokaev back in the day. He lost to Bruno Silva, which he was dominating that fight and then got caught with a Mortal Kombat style uppercut, which, it happens. So, one of those things where, the 2-3 in the last 5 looks bad. And he's fighting a guy who's coming off of his UFC debut where he lost, but he's 3-1 in a no contest in his last 5. And so, obviously, the record looks way cleaner. But he only had one fight in the UFC, so you have to, take the competition level into account. And although he looked really good in the loss, we know how that sometimes works. So this is a really tough fight to call because I think it's one of those fights where both guys have, real paths to victory here. And if we look at Jose Ochoa, we're going to start there. He's probably going to be a better striker, right? He's got good power, good knees, combinations, volume, all that stuff. The dude's a real just gritty fighter. The clinch, that is where this guy is doing some serious damage. He's got a really nice tight clinch and some nasty, nasty knees. If he can keep the fight in one of these two areas, Ochoa's going to do pretty well here. Not that Durden can't strike. I'm just saying Ochoa's going to be, he's just nasty. Grappling, he's good there too, right? Don't get me wrong. He's got a good sprawl. He attacks front chokes really well, and he'll even use those defensively. And if he can get on top, that ground and pound is brutal. But I do think he's at a disadvantage in the grappling because even though he can sprawl, I think Durden can get those takedowns and chain wrestle. And even if he fails, just keep going it. I think you go for the front choke and Durden just doesn't tap. He's just going to keep on going. So you have to put him to sleep. And if you don't put him to sleep, he'll eventually end up on top because we have a guy like Durden. So let's start with his grappling because of that. So like I said, the takedowns are there. Unless he falls in love with the hands, which kind of happens sometimes. He was really piecing up Bruno Silva and then he got knocked out. But he was having success. So I get it. But at the same time, the takedowns can be there. The volume of takedowns are typically there, and he'll chain these takedowns. His takedown defense is good. His sprawls are good. He's got a freaking high motor. This guy just keeps going. If you do not put this guy out with one of those chokes, he's not going to just tap. It's rare that you see this guy just tap. He could. Don't get me wrong. But we've seen him fight through submissions and use that, and he can use that to get on top. If someone goes for a front choke, and they are trying to get him, and he just keeps bulldozing his way through you, spins out of that sucker and somehow ends up on top position, man, you exhaust the heck out of yourself, and Cody Durden's going to keep coming. So I could see this being a really good path for him. But at the same time, if he can't get this going, that's going to be a problem for him. But Durden's not lost on the feet, guys. He's pretty good. He's got a good wrestling threat that sets up that big overhand. He's got good forward pressure. He's got plenty of power in the hands. The dude hits pretty hard for a 125er. His dirty boxing's nasty, and he puts together 2 to 3 punch combinations at a pretty good rate. The striking is going towards Ochoa, especially in that clinch. But the wrestling and grappling goes to Durden. Such a tough fight. Such a tough fight. I'm going to try not to overrate the loss, though, in the debut of Ochoa against a guy like Kavanaugh. Even though I think Kavanaugh was fantastic, don't get me wrong. Ochoa lost the fight. Ochoa was live in that fight. He was very competitive, but overrating a guy in a loss, it's one of those things where we've done it too many times. I'm going to side with Durden for now. I could be swayed on this one. There's a lot of fights on this card I could be swayed. We're going Durden. Let me know what you think. There's a lot of passes for me on this fight, guys. There's a lot of passes. But
The
I'll see you in the
UFC
next
really
one.
wanted Malcolm Wellmaker on this card, and they found a way to make it happen. He steps in undefeated, 9-0 on the career, 5-0 in the last 5, and he takes on the returning Kris Moutinho, who was out of the UFC after a couple of losses and has come back from a 5-fight winning streak brought back to the UFC. Moutinho, 14-6 on the career, so not that bad of a record, honestly, but a guy that did not have much success in the UFC initially. But when we look at them skill for skill, Moutinho, he's a decent forward pressure style striker with a lot of volume, basic combinations, doesn't block a whole lot, so he does get hit, but he is very durable. When he gets knocked out, it's one of those standing TKOs where the ref says, dude, I've seen enough. I know you're tough, but you got to quit eating these things. And he's like, come on, man, let me bang, bro. You know, like the Julian Lane thing. You guys are probably too young to remember that, but that's okay. Anyway, decent grappler as well, mostly up in that cage push. He's got some dirty boxing that he'll use fairly well, and he will attack some chokes. On the other side, we have Malcolm Wellmaker, who is the biggest favorite on the card by a landslide. Solid striker with a rangy jab. Works the body really well, and I think that actually would be a really good idea here because as tough as someone like Moutinho is, it doesn't matter how tough you are if you get punched in the liver. That's just it. Good power. Works the elbows in tight. He picks his shots really well. He's got good counter striking, but occasionally that can mean low volume, and that's just for anybody who is a counter striker. In general, it can result in low volume if the other fighter isn't putting out that pressure. I don't think you need to worry about that here because Moutinho is going to come forward and just try to swing for the fences, land that volume, and try to bring the pace on a guy like Wellmaker. Wellmaker is going to be able to find his counters if he's not getting overwhelmed. In the grappling, he's got good takedown defense, pretty hard to hold down. He can mix in his own takedowns and has good top pressure. We won't probably see that here, maybe, but this is probably a striking fight. The UFC put Malcolm Wellmaker on this card in Atlanta because he's from Georgia. They want to see this guy get a win, and I think he does it here. Malcolm Wellmaker is the pick. It's not a surprise. He's like a minus 1350 favorite. La-di-da. Another tough one to call on this card here. We got Michael Chiesa taking on Court McGee, and this is in the welterweight division. Both guys 2-3. With Court McGee, we're going to start there. He's a decent striker. He comes forward. He throws the 1-2, kind of walks guys down with just that pressure 1-2, 1-2. Striking defense hasn't always been the best, but his durability usually holds up. In the grappling, he's solid there. He just does what he needs to do. Good grappling, good top control, good grinding ability, and he's got cardio to back it up. He's not really the excelling anywhere, but he's not bad anywhere either, and he's really good at just being consistent. On the other side, for Chiesa, decent striker. He'll use his wrestling to set up the strikes and his strikes to set up the wrestling. You like to see that. Decent power, not a lot, but it's decent. A lot of times it's because he's catching guys off guard with that, with the punch because they think the takedown's coming. Solid grappling. He's got good body lock takedowns, good transitions. The control is there, especially if he gets to your back. And he mixes his ground and pound and submission attempts really well. I don't have a clue who's winning this fight, but I do think Chiesa maybe has the ability to get on top and stay there. But then again, dude, I don't. Crack another root beer for this one, boys. We're going to take Chiesa, I guess, for the pick, but I don't know how I feel about this one either. Let me rebooking here. Paul Craig takes on Rodolfo Bellato. Bellato is 4-0 and a draw in his last 5 fights, 1-4 for Craig. The one thing I will say for Paul, that 1-4, everyone that beat him is light years above the people that Bellato is going to war with in his fights. Now, I know Bellato's winning these fights. That's cool. That's good, obviously. He's doing great, but yeah, huge difference in level of competition. Like, dude's losing to like Kyle Ohio, Brennan Allen, things like that. Dude's going life or death with Jimmy Crute, Ihor Potieria. So this is very misleading, is all I'm saying. Okay, now let's break this down. Bellato's going to be the better striker by a lot, right? He's just a decent striker, but Paul Craig can't strike. So decent striker. Good front kicks and knees up the middle. Decent power. His calf kick's pretty solid. But he does throw a lot of single shots. His striking defense is trash. But he recovers very quick. This dude just gets hit. Doesn't move his head. Petrino knocked him out twice. But he recovers quick. Petrino hits very hard. That's why he didn't get the chance to recover. But when you watch that Potieria fight, this dude's dead to rights. Like on the ground dying. And he's lucky the ref didn't step in. Somehow rises from the grave like a zombie. Comes back and wins that fight. Incredible. The dude's recovery is insane. But he does get hit. He has very, very little striking defense. He's a good grappler. If he gets the fight to the mat on his terms, he's often pretty good. He attacks submissions well. He's good at the cage push. He's got good top control, and he's active off his back, but his open mat takedowns are, I don't think he needs to worry about the takedowns here. Paul Craig will give it to you. He'll just jump guard, which we're going to talk about here in a moment, but I think if he goes for a takedown, he probably gets it. But does he want it? That's the question. For Paul Craig, his striking can surprise opponents at times. There was a few moments in the Ozdemir fight. And I know Ozdemir outstruck him for sure. But there was a few moments where you could see Ozdemir was like, man, what? Did that just come from Paul Craig? The guy, he's not a good striker by any means, and he's not confident in his striking whatsoever. But it can catch you off guard every now and then because you just don't expect it coming from him. He has no defense on the striking, and usually he was super durable, but it seems to have been fading lately. Now, that could be a case of Paul moved down to middleweight. He's now back up at light heavyweight where he's had the most success, obviously. I mean, he's got a win over the current champion, albeit it was one of those kind of Hail Mary submissions. Still, beat the champion. Not anybody else can say that. Literally nobody else can say that. So, good thing for Paul Craig. But durability was fading at middleweight. I don't know if it'll come back at 205. Honestly, I like the weight class for him, though. I do think that's better for him. Solid jiu-jitsu. He's extremely active from his back, and he has one of the best triangles in all of MMA. So that's cool, but that's like kind of what he's got, right? He pulls guard, and he's really content from his back. This is a really hard fight to pick because, on one hand, like you look at the record for Bellato, you look at the fact that Paul Craig can't really strike, but then you look at okay, Paul Craig has beaten guys that are like landslides better than Bellato. Bellato is barely skating by on guys that you would assume Paul Craig runs through. Because I know Paul Craig's on a skid, but he also just beat Muniz not that long ago, and Muniz is, better than Bellato in my opinion. And I know it's MMA math, you can't do that, whatever, get out of here. All I'm saying, I gotta go Paul Craig. I just can't. If he loses to Bellato, maybe it's just towards the end of his career kind of thing. But at the same time, this is the fight he should win. This is a big step back. Bellato had to pull out the last time because the dude got the herp. I don't know. He's coming. Give me Paul Craig. I think he can get it done. He probably subs him. If he's going to win, that's usually how he does it. But I don't know, dude. Maybe he could just drop club and sub. Yeah, I don't think he would go for the ground and pound. I think he tries it. That's another thing. Okay, one more point. I think if Paul Craig somehow catches Bellato on the feet, I don't think he gives him time to recover because he goes straight to a submission rather than trying to ground and pound him out. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I'm sure you're going to think I'm an idiot for picking Paul. Maybe I look like an idiot. But come Saturday, if Paul wins, there you go. Light heavyweights next. Alonzo Menifield takes on Oumar Sy. Now, Sy is a undefeated prospect. He's 11-0, 5-0 in the last 5. He's taken on the veteran of the UFC. 3-2 in the last 5 is Menifield. In this one, Sy is predominantly a grappler, but has decent striking. He uses his range pretty well, has that long, rangy jab, and has some decent power to go along with it. But the grappling is what he needs to get going in order to win this fight, I do believe. He's a good grappler with powerful takedowns, the double leg being his best weapon there. Good ground and pound, and he will use that to set up the rear naked choke. He'll just slam those shots in you, and then when you get tired of eating punches, you turn over, you get choked. That's how he fights. That's what he needs to do here to beat a guy like Menifield. Because on the feet, Menifield's only a decent striker as well. The dude's very powerful and explosive. He explodes into range and lands these big bombs. And he has surprisingly good head movement. It's weird. I never thought that. And then, I keep watching his fights, and I go, man, he is getting just out of the way of a lot of these punches, or they're just, kind of grazing him rather than hitting flush on the face. So, yeah, surprisingly good head movement. But he is off balance when he throws his big punches. He'll throw this, it's just like a big meat hook of a punch, and he will get off balance when he does that. That'll be the opportunities for Sy to get the takedowns. However, the grappling of Menifield isn't bad either. He's got powerful slams of his own. Takedown defense is pretty good, and he gets right back to his feet. Dude's a freak athlete that's able to use that to get back to his feet whenever he is taken down. On top, he's got nasty top pressure and even nastier ground and pound. Like I said, the dude's a freak athlete, and even when he is dead dog tired, dude is gone as far as how tired he gets, barely able to hold his hands up. He's still in there swinging and banging, does not care whatsoever. We've seen it in multiple fights now. I'm about to make somebody really mad in the comments. Those people that throw a fit if I pick a big underdog, I'm picking Alonzo Menifield to win this fight. I think he outright wins this fight at a higher clip, especially if you give me the odds. But I think he wins. I think this is going to be another case of an undefeated prospect getting beat by a grizzled vet. I think Menifield's still got some gas in the tank. I think the level of competition that Menifield's been beating is far, far higher than the level of competition that Sy's been beating. We're taking Alonzo Menifield. and I've just angered somebody. Maybe you go watch somebody else's video, huh? See you guys
Brundage, Mansur Abdul-Malik at 185 pounds. Interesting fight. Abdul-Malik, another undefeated fighter on this card. I believe that's, what, 3 of them now? 8-0, 5-0 in the last 5, obviously. 3-1 in a no contest in the last 5 for Brundage. Now, when we look at this, obviously there's the side the UFC wants to win, and there's the side that sometimes spoils those plans. For Mansur Abdul-Malik, he's a decent striker. He's clearly not a striker by nature, but he has a long, rangy jab, and he's got a lot of power. When this dude hits, you hear that thud echo throughout the arena. He's really patient, which is good, but could be bad. But he is open to counters. This right here is how Brundage can spoil the party. So be careful if you're laying the juice on a guy like Mansur Abdul-Malik. He is a solid grappler, though, is Abdul-Malik. The guy is very, very, very good in the wrestling. Solid takedowns, lots of options. He's a body lock kind of guy first, typically. He's good at catching kicks. He'll slam you, and he'll continue to mat return you. Especially if he keeps that body lock and you fight your way back to your feet, just mat return, mat return, mat return. He does float really well while controlling. So he'll get on top of somebody, right? Instead of heavy top pressure down, he kind of just floats above them and just lets them move underneath him, but never really get to advance their position because he's just moving from spot to spot and doing what he needs to do. Ground and pound is devastating. He's got good takedown defense, and he's a physical specimen. All of these things are going to be good for him. This is the only thing that worries me in this matchup against Brundage, because Brundage, decent striker with plenty of power. That's what you need. He eats one to give one, doesn't care. He's usually tough. Striking defense is horrible, but he is usually durable. He's usually durable physically. Sometimes the mental will get in the way. He said that himself. I'm not saying anything new here, but you know, he looked pretty good in that last fight. But then again, that was against Julian Marquez. Whatever, say what you will. Either way, Brundage has power though, and if he gets that counter shot, he can definitely put him out. Good grappler is Brundage. He's got good takedowns, decent top control, but the problem is he will pull a guard looking for guillotines, things like that, and he can get stuck on his back. Obviously, the side to pick is going to be Mansur Abdul-Malik, but I wouldn't be surprised if Brundage catches him. The dude has upset many a prospect in the past just by one of them power shots type of thing. I do think Mansur Abdul-Malik is going to be okay here, though. He was able to fight through eating a nasty power shot from Klein in the last one. We'll take Mansur, but that scares me at the line. Let me know what you think. 135, Cody Garbrandt takes on Raoni Barcelos. Barcelos is 3-2 in his last 5, 2-3 for Garbrandt. A couple of guys who are later in their career, especially for the bantamweight division. For Barcelos, solid striker, good combinations. The leg kick is absolutely there, and he's got pretty darn good power. But he should have a grappling edge here, and he showed that he can go to the grappling in his last matchup. He had gotten away from it a little bit in recent memory, but was able to really grapple well in his last fight. He's got good takedown entries. He scrambles extremely well. He's got really good takedown defense, and his submission arsenal is there. When we look at the other side for Garbrandt, he's probably going to be a slightly better striker. The boxing for sure. So, but like, both guys are solid there, but I do think the boxing is going to be the Garbrandt side, but not so much the output. Good footwork, good combinations, and super fast hands. Dude's got power for days, too, especially for a 135-pounder. Dude can hit hard. Grappling, so in history shows he has really good takedown defense. However, Figgy was able to cut right through him, but I don't know if that was just specifically the takedown that Figgy shot. That was just a darn good takedown, which it was. I don't know. But typically he's got good takedown defense, so I'm keeping it on the board. And he does have good scrambles. For me, this one has to be a Barcelos side, though, because Barcelos, although I do think that the boxing is going to be on the side of Garbrandt. I don't think that's crazy to say. I think there are more options for Barcelos. I think he can land the leg kick and move. I think he can get the takedowns when he needs them. And I think he can mix the arts a little bit better at this stage in his career. And I'm going to say Raoni Barcelos. But honestly, for me, this is one of those fights you just kick your feet up on the coffee table, crack open an ice cold root beer and enjoy, because anything could happen at this point in the careers for both of these guys. I'm just taking Barcelos for the sake of a pick. Let me know what you think. We'll see you in the next Folks, I got to be completely honest with you. I don't have a clue who's going to win this fight. No idea. So maybe you can talk me into something in the comments. I'll give you a pick. I'm going to talk myself through it and come up with something here in a second, but no idea. So, 185-pound matchup between a couple of guys that are 3-2 in their last 5. We have Edman Shahbazyan taking on Andre Petrowski, and there could not be more polarizing opposites as far as what their skill sets are. And that's why it's so hard to choose, because neither guy is a world beater. Neither guy is like surging right now. Neither guy is showing like insane potential, but neither guy is like terrible either, except for in certain areas, right? Let's start with Petrowski. He's a decent striker. It's not where he gets things done. The wrestling threat sets it up. He's got all right power, but he loops all his shots, and his durability doesn't look that great. I mean, he famously knocked himself out on some dude's hip. You know what I mean? So, like, there's that. But his grappling is good. He's got really solid grappling with good takedowns, really good control, and he works to advance the position. He's not the type of guy that's going to have to shoot a ton of takedowns, because once he gets you down, he'll advance position and control you. He has good takedown defense as well. He's got a tight squeeze when he gets a hold of something. So, if he goes for like a choke or whatever. But his submission defense in the past hasn't been great. Don't think that'll matter here. I don't think Shahbazyan's going for submissions. Realistically, if this fight hits the mat at all, it's Petrowski all day. But if it doesn't hit the mat, we got Edman Shahbazyan, who's an absolutely solid striker, who starts extremely fast, but just dies after about 5, 6, 7 minutes. Good power, really, really solid kicks, puts together nice combinations. This dude can knock out Petrowski no problem. But the grappling's not the best. He's got a good clinch game, but I don't think you want to clinch up with Petrowski, because then you can get taken down. He's got decent grappling. He can push guys against the cage all right. He can get his own offensive takedowns if he absolutely has to. But if this fight hits the mat, he's not getting back to his feet. A guy like Petrowski is just going to be able to control him for as long as he needs. I don't have, anybody that feels really strongly about this fight is either just talking out their butt or they've seen the future. Because realistically, if Edman connects early, Petrowski's done. But if Petrowski gets a hold of him before Edman can connect with one of those big shots, Petrowski's putting him on the ground and keeping him there. More often, so the fight starts on the feet, and I think Edman can connect. So we're going to take Edman. But guys, I don't have a clue here. This is a mess of a fight as far as making a prediction. It's such a mess. I can't even put my marker on the marker board, guys. I'm struggling here. I don't know. Talk to me in the comments. Let me know what you think. Hopefully, I can. If I make a change, I will let you know. But we're gonna take Edman for now. See you in the next
matchup with some pretty big implications in the 125-pound division. We have Rose Namajunas taking on Miranda Maverick. Now, Namajunas' last 5 fights, 2 and 3, does not look that good, but the level of competition is the top of the top. And she's fighting Miranda Maverick, who's working her way up the division. So the level of competition is a little different, but Miranda Maverick has been doing pretty gosh darn well. She's 4-1 in the last 5. And looks pretty good in most of those matchups. Now, when we look at these two here, Miranda Maverick, she's a good striker, right? She's got good combinations. She's got that good counter overhand and that inside-outside leg kick that she kind of added somewhat recently to her game. So, good striking, but the wrestling and grappling is kind of where she is best, right? She's a solid grappler with a powerful double leg. She's very heavy on top. She's got a good cage push. And when she gets people into the cage push, that's where she has her best takedowns. And I think that is her best path to victory here, is get the fight to the cage and go for the takedowns there. She also has a pretty good arm bar. We've seen her hit that many a time. But ultimately, it's the heavy on top and the takedowns against the cage. That's what she needs for this victory. On the other hand, for Rose Namajunas, she's going to be the better striker. Now, she has really good combinations, really good footwork, nice head kick. She feints well, good striking speed. That lead hook is brutal. The head movements there, all those things. Everything's there, right? The striking is there. She doesn't have as much power probably because she's now up at 125 pounds. So the power probably isn't as good as it once was down at strawweight where, the competition's smaller. But she's going to be the cleaner, more technical striker. She's a solid grappler as well. She has a good sprawl in open space, which makes me think that the takedowns from Maverick need to come against the cage because Namajunas does sprawl really well. She's also very active from bottom. She's got ground and pound on top or bottom, mixes in the elbows really well, and uses good volume there. She's got good takedowns of her own, trips and traditional takedowns. She'll mix them both together. She's got good transitions, especially when taking the back, and she can go for the rear naked choke pretty well. That's probably her best submission. This is a good fight. It's a competitive fight. I see why Rose is the favorite. It might be a little wide, but I do see why she's the favorite, and it's because of the striking and the fact that she's competitive in the grappling and maybe even better in certain areas. I got to side with Rose Namajunas. I could see her losing this fight, though, if she gets top timed, and that is how Maverick needs to win this fight. But I'm going to take the striker, more well-rounded, I guess. I'm going to take the well-rounded fighter to use the defensive grappling and strike mostly. We're going Rose Namajunas. Let me know what you think.
Got a main event here, folks. If you've been enjoying this video thus far, hit that like button for me. It goes a long way in helping out the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. And it's a real way to show your appreciation for the work that I put in, writing all these things up on the marker board. So please do that for me. Thank you. Let's break down this main event. It's Kamaru Usman taking on Joaquin Buckley. Now, this is in the 170-pound division. And it's interesting because Kamaru Usman,
4 losses on the career. He's one of the best, if not the best welterweight of all time. I would say GSP, but a lot of people would say Kamaru Usman. I wouldn't be mad at you for it. There's without a doubt, he's one of the best of all time in the division. But he's 2-3 in his last 5. He's only got 4 losses on the career, 2-3 in the last 5. So he hasn't looked as good lately. Now, granted, 2 of those losses were to Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards is a former champion. One of those losses was up a weight class on short notice against Khamzat Chimaev. Okay. So, maybe he's not totally done. Maybe it's just a thing where he's fighting the upper echelon of the sport. Now, on the other side, you got Joaquin Buckley, who's on a surge. The guy's 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He's actually got more fights than Usman, even though he's he's much younger in the career. It's, guy's been active. This is tough. This is tough because we're going to break this down, and skill for skill, you're going to look at Usman and be like, man, like, how does anybody beat this guy? But you're gonna have to take it into some context, and that's what we're going to do here. So we're going to look at these two. We're going to say Joaquin Buckley. So for what Joaquin Buckley is good at, it's a lot of pressure. The guy is a good forward pressure striker. He's a good striker in general, but the pressure is what helps. He's powerful. He works the body well. The kicks are fantastic. In fact, he's got one of the coolest kicks in UFC history. He's got good movement. He's got a nice jab. He'll double it up. He'll triple it up. He has a lot of things to like. And I think in the striking, both guys are good. I feel like Buckley's going to be the more active striker. I think he's going to have more going on. In the grappling, he's good there too. He mixes takedowns with his strikes really well. He's got good takedown defense, a really nice sprawl, and he stays safe when he ends up on top. I do think that if you're trying to wrestle with Kamaru Usman, it's going to be tough. I think he wants to keep this in the striking. Now, on the other hand, Kamaru Usman, he's a good striker in his own right. We saw him put some power on Jorge Masvidal when he cracked him with one of those iconic knockouts, just spun the dude around. Fantastic. Dude hits hard, right? Put down Gilbert Burns as well. Guy hits hard. And this is back before both of those guys were just, at the end of their career. Got long rangy straights. He fights at either stance. Feints his jab a ton. He's just constantly poking that jab out there. I will say, as the fight goes on, his jab hand will start to come lower each time when he returns it rather than coming back up top. That is something to keep in mind. This is a 5-round fight. Just kind of gets a little lazy with it, right? In the grappling, yeah, I mean, Usman should be better, but it's the knees. Everybody talks about it. His knees are shot. His knees are shot. Like, it is what it is. But he seems to be able to turn back the clock a lot of these times when he's mixing in that wrestling when he needs it. But, man, how long? How long can he do that? I mean, he's got excellent takedown defense. He's got really good scrambles. Takedowns are there. Singles and doubles for the most part, but he chains them together really well. And one thing I really like is that he clears the legs on most of his takedowns. So instead of ending up in somebody's guard, he's getting in like side control most of the time when he finishes the takedown. He's super safe on top, and he can just resort to the cage push foot stomp method if he needs to and win fights that way. On paper, skill for skill, Usman should be the favorite by a landslide. But you look at where they're at in their careers, and you're like, Buckley's surging, and Usman hasn't looked the same. And it's so hard to pick this fight. Because part of me sees Kamaru Usman as a big underdog, and I'm like, what are you doing? The other part of me sees Joaquin Buckley just surging through these contenders and looking better every fight. And it's like, how do you pick against that guy? I tell you right now, if you're in the comments just waiting to make some stupid remark, I am staying far away from this from a betting angle. This fight, I'm just going to watch and see where we're at, because there's too many things I don't have a good read on. And if you claim to have a good read on them, you're either making stuff up or you know something that nobody else is knowing because you know one of these guys personally. I'm staying as far away as I can, but for the sake of a pick, I'm going to go with Buckley. I'm going to side with the guy who is surging right now. That momentum's on his side. I think he can keep it on the feet for the most part, and I think if he does, that's where he's going to win. So I'm going to side with Buckley. But if Usman wins, I am not surprised one bit. The guy's one of the best to ever do the darn thing. He's competitive in most fights. In fact, I mean, he was the champion not that long ago, just a few fights ago for him. So, yeah, Buckley, more active guy, the youth, all that stuff. But as you can see right now, I'm still kind of fighting that. So let me know what you guys think. Don't be an idiot. I'll see you soon. I'll see you for the PFL breakdown this week. We got PFL, me and Pick'em MMA. We'll see you there.